I regret to inform you that the Cut has just released a piece declaring that concealer lips are back. But it's not just them. Other beauty publications have been reporting on this dreaded comeback. And you can actually blame me for manifesting this one because I posted a video last year about outdated trends that I wanted to see come back. And one I talked about at length in that video was concealer lips because, hot take, when they're done well, I think it is such a good look. The problem is, it's rarely done well. But this article from The Cut was referencing the recent Sandy Liang fashion show where all of the models were sporting concealer lips. But this runway with the dreaded concealer lips all over it was described as a childhood fantasy realized. And all of the looks that Sandy Liang created were very much inspired by her childhood, very nostalgic both in colors and silhouettes. And even a lot of the styling, there were like toys added onto the pieces. Even the way a lot of it was layered was reminiscent of a child playing dress up, playing in like oversized gowns, dressing up like a princess, and that was all very intentional. There were a ton of nostalgic references on this runway, and it made sense that we saw so many concealer lip looks because that was also reminiscent of Sandy Liang's childhood. She is 32, so that means she was growing up when concealer lips were having their moment. And the makeup artist that created these looks was Farah Hamidi. You might be familiar with her because she has her own beauty brand. She said, "This season I created mannequin latex lips and doll eyes with washes of custom mixed colors pulled straight from the collection." And in addition to all of these looks sporting the concealer lip look, they also all had really similar characteristics of a pretty flat face, no really prominent blush or bright tones on the face. Everything was very muted and one-dimensional except for the eyes were where the pop came in. So pretty much every model had a really dramatic, bold eyeshadow look, lots of bold colors that again pulled back from the colors in the clothing. And now you might be looking at some of these runway looks and thinking, okay, I would never wear that, maybe that's not my style. But that tends to be the thing about runway. It's there to tell a story. All of these elements between the makeup, the styling, the music, every single element is there to tell a story. And maybe you wouldn't recreate in the exact same way, but there might be pieces that you want to pull from in your everyday life. Like maybe you wouldn't style all of these pieces together as shown, but maybe you love the bag and you would wear it in your own way. And that's how I think about concealer lips. Maybe you wouldn't wear them the way Farah Hamidi styled them on all of the models. But maybe there's a softer version of them that you would actually like playing around with. So I want to talk today about concealer lips, other nostalgic trends we're seeing come back, and also return to a few more that I'm holding out for. In the theme of today's video, I did my own take on concealer lips. I didn't go quite as light as maybe some of the concealer lips we have in our brain, but I wanted to do a version of it. So I started with the lip liner shade Nude Beige from NYX, and then I topped it with NYX London, and this alone was already kind of concealer lip-y, but I felt like I needed to go even lighter to make it a little bit more accurate. So I put just a dab of my concealer actually on the center of my lips to lighten up that shade. And then finally topped it with a really light pink milky gloss. It is the shade Fortune Cookie from NYX. And while the article was mostly referencing this ominous return of concealer lips just through that fashion show alone, I have observed it picking up some momentum, especially on a lot of recent runways. I've seen celebrity after celebrity going lighter and lighter with their lip color. Some of them definitely feel like a more modern take on the trend, maybe not completely flat, canceled out, matching the color of your foundation, but a tone that's pretty similar to the rest of the face. It's not necessarily a bold lip. The lip is not the statement there. There are other portions of the makeup that are taking over. But if you are sitting here watching thinking, absolutely not, I will never do concealer lips again, I get it. And I wanted to share what I'm considering two siblings of concealer lips that I think give a similar effect, but are a bit more wearable, shall we say. I'll put that in air quotes, but I think maybe less intimidating. The first one is the Just Clear Gloss, and I've been seeing this a little bit more lately. I think it's especially beautiful if you have very pigmented lips. Just going in with a little bit of clear gloss over them gives you that really high gloss shine, but it's not a bold color there. Again, it's fitting back into the idea of concealer lips here. You could obviously pair that as well with a little bit of lip liner or a lip stain. I think is really perfect for this. If you have a lip stain that's pretty nude that looks pretty natural. Put that on first so you have a little bit of color beneath, and then go in with that clear lip gloss. I think it looks gorgeous every single time. Or another favorite that feels very historically accurate to the same time frame as concealer lips. I'm being a little dramatic here, but the baby pink lip gloss has been right up my alley recently. Okay, so this has been my go-to for my baby pink lip gloss looks lately. This is the Tower 28 Lip Softy in the shade Watermelon Kiwi. But I also really love the shade Say Less from Patrick Ta. This formula can be a little bit stickier. It is certainly your traditional lip gloss formula. It's not necessarily as lightweight as a lot more of the lip oils that are coming out now, but because of that, I think it lasts a little bit longer on the lips. Both of these give that like milky pink, baby pink look, and I think it can be especially pretty if you pair it with a somewhat deeper nude lip liner. Putting that together, such a pretty look. Again, I feel like it's the sibling to concealer lips, but it's not, you know, it's a little bit easier to wear, shall we say. In addition to seeing people play around with concealer lips, we are also certainly seeing the return of bronzer. This is something we've been talking about for a long time now, especially in my predictions. I first started bringing this up in 2023. I have felt for a while that, you know, blush mania has kind of reached its peak and people were going to start playing around with more of a bronzed look. And not only have we seen this recently in beauty launches, just in like the last couple of weeks, we've seen so many bronzer launches. One from Polite Society, Westman Atelier, Rare Beauty came out with their liquid contours that are technically contours, but the shades are so warm, they're more like bronzers. Plus there were others, like everyone's launching a bronzer right now. It also feels like in the last couple of weeks, every single beauty publication has released an article about the best bronzers of the moment. And then when I'm looking at runway and I'm looking at the red carpet, I am seeing most makeup looks go a little bit more bronzy. The bronzer is the focus on the look there, whereas 1 to 2 years ago, it was very, very blush heavy. The blush made a really big pop on the cheek. But now we're seeing something that feels more reminiscent of that nostalgic early 2000s super bronzy makeup look. Again, the look that kind of pairs in with concealer lips. Now, obviously, just because something is gaining momentum doesn't mean we need to jump on it or follow it, but I think it's fun to kind of see these trends play out and try them out if you want to. Like concealer lips, that is so easy to recreate with things that you already have. Just dot a little bit of concealer onto your lipstick, and it's something to try, feel a little bit fresh in your makeup routine without necessarily having to go out and buy anything new. You know, same thing with this big bronzer trend at the moment. You probably already have a bronzer. You can just switch up your application, make it a little bit more bronzy. I will share my two favorites if you were in the market for a bronzer though. The Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Shaping Stick. I wear mine in the shade Fair. But also this foundation stick from Well People makes such a great bronzer. I do not like this as a foundation, but it is one of the best bronzers I've ever tried. I have mine in the shade 28 Medium Neutral, and it just looks so perfect every single time. I'm actually wearing a combination of both of these on my face today. But even in that vein of very bronzy looks, I'm seeing different tones of blush become a little bit more popular. You know, the Blonzers, the blush that's like half bronzery, half blushy, or even just more muted blush tones that are a little bit more peachy, a little more orangey or nude, which again, I will leave some recommendations down below if you want some color favorites that I like, but I would also say that you can even do a little bit of mix and matching to create your own. So take your normal bronzer that you already have, mix that in with your blush, and then you have that type of tone. Another return that feels in line with all of these is Waterline Eyeliner. This has been gaining momentum ever since Billie Eilish released her makeup tutorial months and months ago, and I've found a lot more people incorporating waterline eyeliner into their makeup routine again, myself included. I have some on today, and I was very against doing that for years. I never wore waterline eyeliner, but it's something I've been having fun playing around with again. I'm like, wait, this looks nice. It looks sultry. It adds something different to the look, and it's not surprising to see this style of eyeliner trend at the same time that we're seeing mostly bronzer, less blush, and then more of this like nude, muted out lip look. Because this is a formula that just works well together. You know, the eyes are taking a lot of the attention because they are so sultry. And then the face makeup's kind of taking a back seat. You know, it's not super bold. You don't have this bright pink blush taking over. The cheeks are a little bit more understated, so is the lip, and then that sultry liner is kind of the focus. My go-to eyeliner for this, I was asked about this the other day. This brown shade from Kosas is fantastic. It is in the shade Depth, And this lasts so well. It's kind of tricky to find a waterline eyeliner that's not gonna run, especially because I have very watery eyes, but this one stays really, really well for me. It's a retractable liner, so I highly recommend this one from Kosas. But again, if you don't have that, this is again a look that you could recreate with things you already have. Just kind of play. Ooh, another big one, matte skin. But what's interesting is the matte skin of 2025 is not the same matte skin that we saw in 2015. 2015 matte skin was very flat and the only shine was a powder highlighter. 2025 matte skin is described as blur. Like, oh my gosh, think of every product that has launched in the last few weeks with the name blur, which I will say was in my 2025 predictions. I was like, be prepared to see the word blur everywhere. Women's Wear Daily actually just talked about this, saying makeup products touting blurring capabilities are seeing fast growth and cropping up in unexpected places. From setting powders to lipstick to blush and even facial mist, new launches are leaving no area of the face unturned in their shared mission to serve up skin blurring finish. And unsurprisingly, they say searches for blurring foundations are up 145% year over year. And we've seen that in just about every launch lately. Everyone's launching a powder, everyone's doing a blurring powder, blurring lip liner, like categories, again, that you wouldn't think of as being blurring, you're seeing the word blur on. This same matte look is something I've seen from so many celebrity makeup artists on a lot of their clients recently. Things are a lot more matte, not a flat matte like we said, but it's this blurred, soft focus, maybe velvet, that's another word that comes to mind, velvety look. This has had my heart for a while though. It's not necessarily one where I'm like, oh, let me try this out. I have been doing this for a while. Even when everyone was really into a hyper dewy look, I was still just holding on tight to my powders. So I'm excited to see this gaining momentum, and I've been loving all of the powder launches recently. I think I need to do some form of a powder wrap up. I don't know if I'll make that a long form video, but maybe a short. Let me know if you want to see that. Just talking about just putting all the powders head to head, because I have tried about 1 million of them recently. A hair one that we have been seeing that I predicted, I think it was in my 2024 predictions. Yeah, was side bangs. This also has that nostalgic energy to it, but I've seen a lot of celebrities wearing a side bang recently. One that I just saw the other day, JoJo, the singer. Side bangs, we've seen Sabrina Carpenter swooping her bangs over to the side. I feel like the gain in popularity for the side bang feels unsurprising considering the hold that curtain bangs had on everyone for a while, and now that people are growing them out and we're seeing parts kind of move over to a side part, inevitably we are seeing people sporting side bangs again, but in a pretty different way than what I remember from like 2008. You know, it used to be a very chunky, very heavy fringe kind of pushed off to the side. Now it's a bit more wispy, kind of undone, messy, and I've really been loving that interpretation of it. And the one that I'm still holding out for, that I don't know if this will have a mainstream resurgence. I do think there have always been people wearing this look, but I don't care how unpractical this is. I don't care how unpopular this is. I love streaky highlights. There's something about a chunky highlight that I think is so striking. I passed a woman on the street the other day who had very like chocolatey hair and these really vibrant, bright, very, very blonde stripes in her hair. It looked amazing. I was mesmerized by it. I'm like, there's just something that pops about it because of the high contrast look of the chocolatey brown hair and the really, really light highlights. I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I love when highlights are a little bit stripy. Like, I will always think that looks better than a very blended highlight look. It's probably because I grew up in the early 2000s. I don't know. I was programmed to believe this, but whenever I see stripy highlights, I'm like, oh my gosh, you look like a Bratz doll in the coolest way. And I think if anything, that's why I love seeing a lot of these trends come back into popularity, because they feel very nostalgic to me. Again, going back to that Sandy Liang fashion show, it was very much inspired by her childhood. You know, the looks, the styling, the makeup, everything was really coming together and paying homage to her childhood, which I thought was so fun to see. The cut writes, picture this, it's 2006, you sneak into your mom's makeup drawer and rifle through her stash of Maybelline eyeshadow and Revlon lipsticks. You're on a mission. You saw Rihanna walk the red carpet in nude lips and you have to recreate the look. You swipe your mom's concealer across your lips, let it dry into a crusty paste. You've never felt prettier. And I know not everyone likes seeing trends come back. I know people are like, leave that where it was, but I always think there's something really special about wearing things that I would have thought were really cool when I was a kid. Like, My style is very Y2K influence, like the fashion that I wear, because I like getting dressed and feeling like if my younger self met my adult self today, like she would think she was really cool. I'm now wearing the clothing and the makeup looks that I wanted to wear then, and I think there's something so fun and full circle about that. So I love seeing little nods to concealer lips or streaky highlights, you know, holding my fingers crossed for that one. But let me know your thoughts down below. Would you try the more muted lip look? The concealer lip look, if you will. Let me know. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.